Day one of Chicago Bears training camp and deja vu hits hard. The offense is already struggling. Is it just rust or already a red flag? We're breaking down what went wrong, what went right, who's to blame, and whether fans should start worrying. As always, I'm Rob Schwartz with Bear Goggles On. With me is Bob Weiss and Justin Oniemi. Stick around. It's going to be a great show.
We love comments here at the Halas Huddle. We love debating. We love talking with you. We love hearing your ideas. So let us know what you think. And if you're watching this on TV, make sure you at least hit that like button and let YouTube know that you're supporting the channel.
Let's get right into it, guys. So as you mentioned, Rob, training camp is off. And the major difference we have is this is a Ben Johnson training camp. So I want to hear from you guys. We've mentioned many times Ben Johnson effect. Are we already seeing it in full effect? Rob, what do you think?
We're already seeing it. The intensity is real. Like, he is already pulling the starting offense off the field during 7-on-7s when they can't get things correct. Whether it's Caleb Williams, whether it's one of the receivers not lining up correctly, I don't know, because they literally took the whole entire starting offense off and put in the backups, right? Like, this is accountability that I want to see. I don't know if it was accountability that we were seeing necessarily under Matt Eberflus. I don't think it was. I think it was a little bit of too much hand-holding with that regime. Look, he learned from Dan Campbell. That guy likes to bite kneecaps off. And Ben Johnson is already in the thick of things. Dennis Allen's intensity is there. I don't know if that's just him as a defensive coordinator / former head coach, or if he's also feeding off of the Ben Johnson effect. But it is definitely something that's out there. He was giving Caleb Williams homework. I don't know if Caleb Williams is embracing it or not. It's a little bit too early to see, but it's definitely in full effect, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's day one of training camp, so it's hard to say it's absolutely here until we get a little bit more data points. But we have basically 2 data points that go off his press conference yesterday and then what happened in practice today. Yesterday, I think the thing that stood out to me most about what he said was talking about pre-snap process and how important it is to get in and out of the huddle and to the line of scrimmage and in the right formation, because that will be a weapon in the offense. He talked about getting to the line of scrimmage being a weapon. And then here today, offense struggles to get to the line of scrimmage at 7-7. And what does he do? He pulls them off the field. So right away, you're saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to enforce this. And then the next day, he absolutely shows you that he's going to enforce it. So that's a great start. But it's still just a start, right? If we're getting into week 2, towards the beginning of week 3, and he's still pulling the offense off the field, okay, great, you're enforcing it, but nothing's actually changing or anything, right? So it's a great start. It's nice to see that he's actually doing what he's saying he's going to do, but we have to actually see some results. We have to see some improvement. We have to actually let's do a better job as fans of trusting what the media is telling us coming out of practice. Let's not just get mad at them because they're telling us things we don't want to hear, even though it's what's happening, right? So hopefully tomorrow things look better, or if they look bad, let's believe that they look bad. They're not just trying to, set Bears fans' hairs on fire. Okay, so obviously we're kind of talking about Caleb Williams already with the Ben Johnson effect, and his number one priority is going to be getting this super talented number 1 overall pick to be as productive as his talent leads us to all believe he should be. So, Justin, how are we going to be able to measure progress of Caleb Williams throughout this training camp?
Yeah, so, I mean, it all is intertwined. I mean, the fact that you're throwing the starters off the field for something as simple or as fundamental as getting in and out of the huddle in a timely manner, that's the level of detail it takes to be great. And we know that Caleb Williams has the arm talent, but with the coaching, with the attention to detail, that's the little difference. At the professional level, it's the fine details that separate things. And, the previous episode we did that looked at what we were projecting for Caleb Williams to make a jump, I was going at the basis of he's going to improve from 62.5% completions to maybe 65, 66. Ben Johnson comes right out and says, I'd like to see 70. And so, you set the bar up here. You go at the details. And Caleb Williams, other people on this team said, we want to be coached hard. That's what they're getting. And so the numbers I had were at 66% completion. So if he's going for 70, if he can get anywhere near that, let's get ready for all sorts of Bears records. I'm not too worried at this point. Like you said, Bob, check back in later in this training camp. Now, is Rob going to be Debbie Downer though? What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, so I'm a little pessimistic because it just seems like nothing can come like easy for the Chicago Bears. Like already in day one, we're seeing Caleb Williams struggle. We're seeing Caleb Williams not be able to do what needs to happen pre-snap, right? He's getting yelled at by the coach. Then they're being taken off. Now you're seeing why can't I think of I almost said Case Keenum. That's not the backup though. No, it is the backup.
Was the number 2 today. Case Keenum was number 2 today. Tyson Bagent had the big play in practice though.
That's right. Well, was it him or was it the receiver? JP Richardson made an unbelievable catch from what we're being told. So already a camp darling out there, right? But you said 70%. That's a fantastic goal, but it's also there's only 5 quarterbacks who hit that mark last year. So that's something to put in perspective. Now he set his own goals of hitting that 4,000 mark, and I think that is something he also just is trying to appease fans. He's trying to set franchise records there. But if you look at those 5 quarterbacks, 4 of them threw for over 4,000 yards. So if you get to that 70% completion percentage, you're probably going to hit that 4,000 mark. And the reason that the other one didn't was it was Tua and he didn't play a full season, right? And Jared Goff was one of them, right? It was the first time in the 3 years with Ben Johnson calling plays that he did hit that 70% mark. So here's my thing. 70%, whatever, 67, 68%, whatever. I don't really care. Just have consistency. And I don't want to see, look, the very first play, he threw an interception to Tremaine Edmonds, a guy who a lot of people have already written off. But Dennis Allen's saying, hey, maybe he's going to do something in this system. I just want to see the offense move the ball successfully. I want to see Caleb Williams have consistent progressive success. And I understand even Ben Johnson said, hey, this first couple weeks of camp, there's going to be installs. It's going to probably be rough. It's going to be murky. Things are going to happen. So is it a huge red flag? I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. No, it's the first day of camp. I'm not going to get that down on him. But it just seems like nothing comes easy to the Chicago Bears. And I was just hoping for some type of actual offensive success.
I'm glad you ended how you started. It's not supposed to be easy, Rob. That's what Ben Johnson said from the beginning. It shouldn't be easy. And the fact that it's hard, the fact that the attention is on the details and Caleb Williams is actually thinking about pre-snap procedures, it's hard to say. And his footwork, that's the kind of thing that will make him go from good to great.
So you're absolutely right, Justin, but I do wish the very first pass of training camp wasn't an interception. That would have been nice.
Tremaine Edmonds breakout. That's what I think it was.
Hey, I mean, somebody's got to step up, right? Somebody's got to step up. This team needs some leaders. So let's talk leadership. Who is going to be the ones to step up into this role? There's a lot of new faces here in Chicago, a lot of seasoned veterans that could actually become something that this team maybe hasn't had for a while. So I'm going to throw it to you, Bob, first. Who do you think is going to step up into these leadership roles?
I mean, first, we got to take a look at what happened last year. Last year was such a dumpster fire on so many levels. Like, yes, you can absolutely point the finger at Shane Waldron. You can absolutely point the finger at Matt Eberflus. You can point the finger at Ryan Poles for enabling that environment to happen. But at the end of the day, when things got rough, push came to shove, those players in that locker room cratered and caved and didn't rise above the disaster around them. So this locker room is actually kind of largely the same as last year, right? So who is going to step up? The number one guy who looks at is Grady Jarrett. I do not think it was an accident at all that the Bears sent him to the podium first yesterday. And for that matter, all 4 Bears who went to the podium, Caleb Williams, Grady Jarrett, Cole Kmet, and TJ Edwards. I think that's where the Bears are looking at first, saying, hey, you guys need to be the stabilizing force here. You're the one that need to take this message from the coach to the locker room. There's different effects on all these players with this coaching staff as well for different types of angles, but it has to be better. It has to start with the players. I know multiple, Dennis Allen today said that, I think Cole Kmet might have said as well, like the best teams that they've been a part of were, player-led teams and not coach-led teams. So they're going to have to find a way to get the voices from the locker room. And, Caleb Williams, it's a lot to put on him because he's kind of got to be a productive quarterback first before he could really, truly lead the team. But it's going to have to come from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, you said it very well in terms of the guys that go to the podium on day 1 and day 2. That's a strong indication of what the organization thinks of those guys. And I'm going to zero in on Cole Kmet specifically. A question he was asked, but also just one that we all know is out there is, how are you going to handle the fact that Ben Johnson's first pick, the number 10 pick in the whole draft, is a guy playing your position in Colston Loveland? And he says the right things, but how he actually handles that day in and day out and putting his own maybe ego aside a bit for better results for the team, how he does that is going to be a symbol that the rest of the team can look at. Even guys like DJ Moore, because the ball is going to find a lot of different people. And judging on how these last year or two have gone around here, they haven't shown the strongest mindset when things aren't going their way, or maybe they're not getting as much attention as they think they should. And so Kmet, what he said was the right thing. Now, does he follow that up with his actions? I believe he will, but I think he's a key player leader on this team. And if he starts to, have doubts about where he stands with the team, that kind of thing, that opens it up for a lot of other players to feel similarly.
Yep, absolutely.
So one leader that wasn't even out there is Jaylon Johnson. And so I'm going to toss it to you guys. There's kind of two things maybe going on here. What we're told is he has an injury and he's on the physically unable to perform list. Maybe 3 weeks or so. Could be that long that he's there. Dennis Allen says, I know he'll, be in good shape when he gets back. And there also is rumors here about maybe his pay is not symbolic of where he thinks he is in the rankings in the league. So what should we make of what's going on with Jaylon Johnson? Rob, why don't you go first?
Yeah. So what's interesting here is, look, about 20 days ago, he was at his youth camp, and the Bigs had him on video with the mic, and he was running routes as a receiver, showing the kids how to defend certain things, how to put them to the outside, make them throw the fade. He looked healthy to me. Something happened over those last 15, 20 days. It's pretty interesting to see. I guess anything could happen. Maybe he tripped over a duffel bag. Who knows? Sorry, wrong sport. I don't know. It's frustrating, though, to hear contract when he literally just signed a contract last year. We know every year the contract numbers change quickly, right? You might be one of the highest paid average guys to quickly now look, he's 14th in the league at about $19 million per year. You're getting paid what you agreed to last year. If the contract thing is real, I don't know for sure. I think it's a bunch of nonsense to think that maybe that's the case. Only 1 year into a 4-year deal, but I am not concerned about Jaylon Johnson as far as being a productive player, even coming into a new system. He's a shutdown corner who literally just knows how to play the position, whether it's man, whether it's zone. He does a good job at both. So as far as like being concerned about him as a player going into 2025, I'm not.
Yeah, it's disappointing, I guess I would say, more than anything, right? Jaylon Johnson's one of these guys who we should have been talking front and center in the last segment we did about leadership, right? He's pretty much a self-made all-pro, and he should be the shiny example for everybody on the team, but yet he's just kind of an afterthought when you talk about leadership on this team. The conversation that he had on the Rich Eisen show with the wrestling guy, I can't think of his name right now.
Rollins.
Yeah, Seth Rollins, right? I think that was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but it's also, we know that Jaylon Johnson takes his contract seriously. So when those whispers are already out that he's not happy with his contract, and then he's not ready to go on camp, when we saw very publicly he was healthy, it's at the very least a very, very concerning coincidence, let's say. So I just don't know what to make of it, but I do think that it's going to present a very interesting opportunity for the rest of those players in the cornerback room to see who's going to make the most of those reps and step up and make this team. Today, it was a free agent that didn't get much fanfare in the offseason. I wish I had it in front of me, Nashawn something, but he apparently had spent some time with Al Harris in Dallas. So he got the first look starting across from Tyreek Stevenson, who, by the way, Tyreek Stevenson is just a starter. There was all this noise about is Tyreek Stevenson going to have to learn or earn his spot? What's going to happen there? But no, Tyreek Stevenson was just right there. So Trey Flowers is another guy that they just signed. I think he might get some look at safety as well, but he's got some cornerback experience in his past. So there's lots of young guys with opportunities. Terrell Smith has a chance to step up. Zay Flowers, is that his last name? Zay Frazier. Zay Flowers is the receiver from Baltimore. Zay Frazier is the cornerback that we just drafted. Is still hurt from rookie camp, rookie mini camp. So he didn't even get to step up in those reps. So we'll see what happens. But at the very least, it's disappointing when this one guy who really has a case to say he's your best player, right? Joe Tooney aside, Jaylon Johnson might be the best player on the Bears. And here he is not ready to go for camp for something that happened on his own time for whatever it is. So it's just wish it was a better story with Jaylon Johnson a lot of the time. All right. Speaking of wishing things were a better story, Luther Burden, it just seems like every bit of news with Luther Burden is just kind of like, what is going on, right? He, the draft day slide was a little weird, and then he gets hurt at training camp or the rookie mini camp. But by the end of veteran mini camp, Ben Johnson said very clearly, we expect Luther to be back. And then there's a contract dispute, and then he gets fully guaranteed money, and then he's not in practice today. So, Justin, what is Luther's deal?
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot there, and it's all accurate. Now, I was a bit worried with the contract holdout, but the thing was, it was almost every second rounder, and the Bears had 3 that we think are all very important, and it was almost like a relief to see, hey, they're all signed. I was happy to see his is fully guaranteed, and part of that made me think, wow, they really have confidence and faith in this guy. Let's see it. And then day one, he's not there. Now, there's been not much said about specifics of the injury. I don't think they have to disclose, but soft tissue, and we're talking now this has been impacting him for 8 weeks because, they've been off for 6 and he wasn't there prior to that. The thing is, we keep saying details matter. Every rep matters. You're coming in. Yeah, you are highly touted, or you think you had first round talent, but you are not on the field building chemistry with other players that matters. The coach cares if you are exactly how you are positioned. That's not something you easily can get just in the meeting room or from the sideline. You got to be out there. And so it is actually quite concerning to me. The only thing that gives me a little bit of relief is that I do feel there's a bit more depth now at that position with Olamide Zaccheaus, maybe JP Richardson. I'll leave that for Rob to talk about. But it is concerning. I wish I knew. You want your guys healthy. You need a rookie out there.
Yeah, so look, I know Bob was really high on that pick when it came out. I became really excited about that pick after that happened. Antoine Randall L was extremely excited about that pick after it happened. And my hope was that, and I'm going to do a pun here, that the burden was going to be on other teams that have to guard him. And now it seems like the burden is on the Chicago Bears with this, seems like a locker room thing. As much as I'm not worried about Jaylon Johnson, I am worried about the Luther Burden situation because, Justin, you mentioned it. He needs reps. You're not going to get the attention to details that Ben Johnson is putting out there by just getting mind reps. You need to physically be out there. You need to be getting these pre-snaps down because maybe it was a receiver that was causing problems today on the first day and not lining up correctly and not necessarily Caleb Williams, or maybe it was the offensive line. But Luther Burden needs to be able to prove that he understands where he needs to be, understand what routes he's supposed to be running. He needs to get timing with Caleb Williams because that's extremely important as well. And he's not getting that if he's not out there. Soft tissue issues is something that we've seen here in Chicago. We saw it with Alshon Jeffrey as a rookie, and it hindered pretty much his entire career outside of 2 seasons. I don't want to see that happen again. I know there's depth, but it just makes me a little bit nervous seeing this continue to be an issue. And if he's not out there within the next week, I don't know. It's just not a good sign.
And depending on when people are watching this, Ben Johnson is going to talk Thursday morning. And so by the time you're watching this, he might have already cleared some of this up. Like maybe Luther Burden is going to be back Friday. Maybe he will be back Saturday. We don't know. But the thing is, we don't know. Right. So why don't we know? And just what's going on with that all?
Yeah. Well, the good news is the Bears did get somebody back besides Colston Loveland. We're not talking about him today. But at left tackle, Braxton Jones made a appearance. He was the starting left tackle when he was blocking against Air. And then they switched over to Ozzy Trapillo when the actual, reps came in. Again, no pads, so does it really matter? I don't know. Kyron Amagaji is also in the mix there. So, Bob, what do you think we have to look forward to here with the left tackle competition?
Well, the first thing is very interesting that Ben Johnson has stated very clearly in his opening press conference that it is a blank slate and everybody is starting fresh. If I'm Braxton Jones and I'm a 3-year starter, I'm a little pissed off about that, right? Ben Johnson said, well, his experience should help him in the race. Fine, great, but why am I not starting there? I just worked my butt off to get back, get healthy, and now you're saying that you're stripping me of my spot on the depth chart, right? So right away, that would kind of bother me. So what I'm really going to do here is I'm going to kind of take my spot as the flag bearer for the Braxton Jones fan club here this training camp and into the preseason. Spent some time on CHGO this past week, especially with Adam Johns going there and everything. Spent some time in that chat. And it just seems like there's so much Ozzy Trapillo momentum right now that people are just forgetting that, Braxton Jones, it's going to sound funny, but Braxton Jones is a perfectly average starting left tackle. He's totally fine. Yes, the bull rush is a problem, right? But here's the thing. The defensive line cannot bull rush every single time, because then you start to be able to scheme around that, this guy's coming hot, and you just start to run through that gap or whatever you got to do. So it's just one weakness in Braxton Jones' game, and all of a sudden he's terrible. No, he's fine. Let him start, let him play, let him be fine. And then I've talked about this before. Then you get the comp pick when he signs a big free agent deal in the offseason, and Ozzy's your starter next year. The one caveat I will say, and this would happen even if it wasn't an open competition, but let's just say Ozzy is clearly head and shoulders way, way better than Braxton Jones. Fine, start Ozzy. But I just don't really see a second-round pick coming out without much fanfare just stepping in and being better than a perfectly competent league average starter at left tackle. And sorry, Karan, I didn't mention you, but I'm not worried about you.
So, everything is true. Coming off the injury, I think does leave it slightly open. And so often we hear in sports, you shouldn't lose your role due to injury. But the reality was you weren't there for certain parts. As I said before, the team should be looking at a guy like Cole Kmet and how he responds to somebody being drafted to potentially take over some of what you do. Braxton Jones is in that same position. If he wants that spot, he has to go out there and make every one of his reps the best rep and just keep doing that. And that will make him better. That will make Trapillo better. That will make your depth at the position better. That will make the team better. I guess it does kind of come off a certain way because I just don't get the sense that, Ben Johnson has that much. I don't want to say faith because I don't think it's that. I just don't think Braxton Jones is his guy. Truth be told, none of these guys are his guy. He's the new guy here. This is a draft pick, mind you, so they see him as a future, but hopefully it just makes Braxton Jones better, makes Trapillo better, it makes the unit better. But yeah, to answer this question though on the screen, how soon will the starter emerge? I like how Ben Johnson answered that. He says, a 3-person competition is tough. I really think it's 2, but anyway, we'll get back to that. But he says it doesn't matter if the answer comes in 3 weeks or if it comes in 6. What will matter is that person has earned it and that they're ready to go week 1. So I think the longer the better, as long as it's real competition and not because, Braxton hits a snag in his recovery or, somebody's just not performing at all. That's what we don't want to see.
And much like I wish Caleb's first pass today wasn't an interception, I really wish Braxton Jones' first rep today wasn't a false start. That would make me feel better about my position. But, it is what it is. Sorry, Rob.
I was literally just going to say real quick, look, I get the CHGO chat with Adam Johns being babyface Ozzy Trapillo's man-child, right? That they're clearly going to side with him, but I was going to say it probably wouldn't be a good idea for Braxton Jones to come out and have a false start on his very first play. So you stole my thunder there.
Not great. Not great. When the pads go on, though, then we'll know.
That's what matters, especially with any of the offensive line and defensive line play.
Right. So we're still excited, super excited about training camp, right? Even though today was a bit of a downer if you're a fan of offense and Caleb Williams. Defense looked good. Defense is always ahead of offense. But comment if you can. Let us know what you think. Are we way off on anything? Is there anything that you are looking at in training camp that we didn't touch on today? And if you can't comment, just make sure you like. If you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed.
Yeah. Until then, let's Chicago Bears training camp, guys. Bear down. Claws up.
Ready, break.